All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, turning our attention now to Nigeria. As the world continues to react to the U.S. military intervention in Venezuela, foreign policy experts have gathered in Lagos, Nigeria, to give their own comments. They insist the world must bound together to check the U.S. and also improve their military might as a way to counter the U.S. growing imperialism. We have a report. The situation in Venezuela remains fluid after a U.S. military intervention that captured President Nicolas Maduro and extracted him to the U.S. to face trial. At the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, experts gathered to discuss the implications of the U.S. military intervention in Venezuela, chaired by former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi.
This disruptive intervention in the world order.
The event brought together prominent Nigerian diplomats and foreign policy experts. Speakers at the event gave historical background to the fractured relations between the U.S. and Venezuela, as well as the dominance of the United States in Latin America.
Under the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 3314 of 1974, invasion or military occupation constitutes acts of aggression. Consequences include state responsibility, duty of reparation, possible international condemnation, and countermeasures. U.S. actually contravened this resolution, and they are signatories to the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 3314.
It was non-interventionist. But, that was Monroe. But Roosevelt came and said, we can intervene in the event of chronic political instability in any Latin American country. We can intervene in case of financial insolvency. We can intervene if actions are taken by European countries. And so the right of intervention, according to him, was a duty of international police power, what we now call the responsibility to protect.
In the short-term view, just like OPEC, as in my humble view, as rationally calculated, there may not be much of impact. And the reason for that is also within the context of America-Venezuela relationship. Because don't forget that the Venezuela we're talking about has been under crippling sanctions, economic sanctions by the same US.
They called for the respect of international law, sovereignty and territorial integrity, emphasizing the need for countries to develop their own capacity to defend themselves.
So, yes, there are implications, but again, the truth remains that as of today, nobody can stop the United States, except all countries of the world decide that they are going to quietly build up their capacity and capability so that collectively they can limit the operations of the United States.
The reality is that the world order has changed, and we should all be prepared to look at what the alternatives are. Because the US, which is the global hegemon, having edged out Russia, China still being in its infancy, has decided under the leadership of President Trump that those arrangements, those agreements, those documents signed and whatever have become irrelevant.
There is sense in coalition building, people coming together and ensuring that bodies like the UN and so on can work. I mean, it would be too much to expect that China can stop America or that Russia can stop America. There are places where these interests are also compromisable, and that's what we have seen.
The roundtable discussion highlights the international condemnation that has since trailed the U.S. military intervention in Venezuela and the need for global cooperation to uphold international law. Precious Amayo, TVC News, Lagos.